This is What's Wild in New Hampshire by wildlife biologist Eric Orff. Hey, I'm here at Fox State Forest with Inge Seaboyer, another one of my women in New Hampshire history. Here is one of the, as I call them, the grand dames of conservation work in New Hampshire. I think it's the number 10 that I've interviewed. Inge, tell me, how did you get your job? What's your background? Where are we today? And you tell me a little bit about Fox Forest, but I know you've been at it a while. Give me some background and what have you been up to? Give me a day on the job with Inge Seaboyer.
Okay. Well. I mean, I guess I'll start with a little background. That I wound up getting into forestry because I went to Pinkerton Academy in Derry, New Hampshire, and
Me too.
I was going to say, following in Eric's footsteps, but I followed in my brother's footsteps going through the forestry program
Okay.
that was there. It used to be a 4-year program. And I will be totally honest, when I first started, I was doing it because I had an interest in forestry, had grand plans of being either an art or an English teacher. And by the time I was done with 4 years at Pinkerton, I realized that no, my calling was forestry.
Well, but
So,
you are a very accomplished artist. We should mention that at least.
well, thank you. I appreciate that. I actually have illustrated several books that are forestry related in New Hampshire, including Good Forestry in the Granite State, volumes 1 and 2. I'm
Wow.
it,
Multiple.
yep, yeah. Well, it's I find that foresters who are writing things about forestry and need illustrations love being able to deal with an artist who's a forester. They don't have to explain the concepts. I already know them. So anyway.
All right, back to
But
getting on the job.
anyway, so getting on the job. So following Pinkerton, I went to UNH for 4 years, the 4-year forestry program with a management curriculum, and bounced around a little bit right after graduation. Worked for a paper company up north, worked for the Forest Service on the inventory and analysis project, and had wound up one of those seasonal jobs, and had thrown out some cover letters and resumes to different people. And I got a call from Brian Sim, who was the Southwest Regional Forester for Forests and Lands out of Fox Forest, ironically. And he called me and said, we need someone for an inventory crew over at Pillsbury State Park. Are you available?
Wow.
And at the time, I was planning to head to Maryland to stay on FIA, and went, oh, yes, I am very interested, because learning 20 different oak species down in Maryland and trying to find a place to live was not on my top 10 list. So I actually started 37 years ago on April Fool's Day here at Fox Forest in a snowstorm.
Get out.
And
Back when we used to get snow
right,
before
right.
before climate change.
And started, like I said, on an inventory crew, doing resource inventory to map cover types and take information on the forest stands for use by other foresters. For management at Pillsbury State Park, and then from there went down to Pisgah State Park and helped complete the initial resource inventory there on the northern end in Chesterfield. And by the time we had wrapped that up, one of your former colleagues, Howie Nowell,
Yep.
and the chief of our Forest Management Bureau, Tom Miner, had been talking about doing an integrated program where there would be funding for foresters who would do management on the wildlife management areas, and have it be geared towards habitat on all of the then dread properties, the state forests and the state parks in New Hampshire. And
I remember that.
they wound up being able to pull together the funding for that through Pittman Robinson, and the initial 3 foresters for what we called the Forestry and Wildlife Program was myself, Sean Bresnahan, who I had worked with at Pisgah and Pillsbury, and Bob McGregor, who had been working contract work for the Forest Service, and we were the initial 3, and the program is still going on.
Wow. So, but you were saying you were like the very first woman forester.
Well,
So when did that actually, was that the April Fool's time, or was that another time that you became the first official woman forester?
Technically, I've never had a break in service, so I started as a seasonal, but it rolled right into the Forestry and Wildlife program, and that's when technically when that program began that I became the first full-time female field forester for the state.
Another first.
So there had been, I mean, I actually had worked for the state during the summers before that, and other women had on seasonal crews, but the first full-time year-round.
So tell us about a day on the job. I asked you earlier, come up with 5 thoughts, and I want one of the first 3 about a day on the job, a fun job. Has this been a fun, awesome career?
Absolutely. In fact, I'd probably be retired if it wasn't fun, because I say I'm still having fun.
Nice.
But I mean, even though I've been here at Fox since 2007, most of the first 22 years of my career with the state was as part of the Forestry and Wildlife program, and I think just that whole program, I don't know if I could pull out one specific day, but the fact that I got to do forest management specifically to help improve wildlife habitat was just
so there are a lot
great.
of good days. It's hard to come up with one.
Exactly, a lot of good days. I mean,
and working with wildlife biologists like me, Inge and I worked together.
Yeah.
I mean, she wrote the very first Bear Brook plan. I made a few comments maybe, but here's the lady that actually did the first plan for Bear Brook State Park.
Well, I was one of the lead authors. The other lead author was Ken Damaris.
Ken.
Who, he probably did a lot of the technical part, but we worked together on it, and I was the wordsmith, and we pulled in other people's information.
So an artist in a different way. You're a wordsmith too.
Well, see, I was going to do English, so that was, I'm good at that too. So, but I mean, it really, working on something like that where, it was one of our first multi-use management plans for one of the big properties.
Yeah, 10,000 acres.
Yeah. I mean, at the time we didn't realize it was 10,000 acres. They redid the map in GIS and realized that we were short a few acres. Anyway, so, that's another thing. Boy, we have things changed. We've gone from hand-drawn paper maps to doing everything in
so
GIS.
Lots to learn in the field.
Lots to learn, and, it's, I find that part of it fascinating too, probably because, my art background, that I like drawing maps and doing that, but being out in the field obviously is kind of my first love. But and while I was in the forestry and wildlife program, that's when we first developed the burn program.
Oh, we had some awesome burns. Yeah, I was on the burn team.
I was gonna say. So a lot of my
good duty.
A lot of my great stories involve this guy over here, Eric Orr, because we did quite a bit of burning at Blue Job State Forest up on Little Blue Job Mountain, which was formerly a commercial blueberry field. And
Bear Brook, and lots of burns.
Yep. Bear Brook, there's been a bit of a gap, and they're getting back to the prescribed burning. Nice. But the whole process of trying to coordinate, write burn plans, work with our forest rangers in order to accomplish this, work with the local fire departments, often came out to help out, and then having people that came up with ingenious things like what we called the Fire Apparatus.
Right on top of Blue Job.
Eric decided to trailer behind his Rokon a water barrel so that we could refill bladder bags that we were controlling the burn with.
Yeah, I could drive that thing up a tree. It went everywhere.
That thing,
awesome
that
machine.
Thing could go anywhere. Including the top of Hall Mountain at Bear Brook, where we burned up there, and multiple times at Blue Job.
If anybody wants to give me one, I'm open to receiving one. So, I do miss my Rokon.
Yeah, I'm not sure that they still have a. Well, I don't know. They probably do still have a barrel attached. I mean, they were commercially made ones, but it made our life a lot easier when we were ferrying water to where we were actually doing the prescribed burning. And then we wound up with well, actually, I was going to say Windows to the Wild, but it wasn't. It was the New Hampshire Wildlife Journal
Oh yeah.
filming
Yep.
there
Yep.
originally
Oh
during some
yeah.
prescribed burning, and then I actually did wind up on top of Blue Job with Willem Lang
Okay.
filming for they wanted to show in one of the first years of Windows to the Wild. So
So tell me this thing: is it easier or harder for a young woman to get into being a forester now? And what's some advice for a young woman that might want to follow your footsteps?
so um, I sort of went through school right at the it might have been the peak of how many folks were getting into forestry
Okay.
a career going through college. I mean, I graduated with 25 other people from UNH,
Okay.
and nowadays there's a handful of students.
Okay.
Um, there certainly are more jobs available now than there
Okay.
were when I
So
started.
looking good.
But I'd also like to encourage young folks to get into it. It seems like there's been a little move away from working in the natural resource programs, and anything I can do to encourage that. I would say you've got a much easier path towards a full-time job than when
Wow.
I
That's
graduated,
awesome.
back in 1983. So if you have an interest, especially, uh, you know, get having a few more women get
Yep.
into the profession would be great. But I encourage anyone who's thinking about their career path to consider it. And those of us who work for the state, especially, but not just that work for the state, are always happy to talk to any young person who's interested in starting a natural resource career. So,
Nice.
you know.
So tell me a little bit about Fox Forest. I'm going to swing the phone around here and take a picture of
Sure.
over here. You said you had a group there today. Let me see if I can zoom in on it.
So Fox Forest is the research and demonstration forest for the
I
state of
remember
New
the planting of the trees down here a while ago. How they doing?
Oh, so the we have a small Christmas tree plantation
Well, chestnut.
down. Oh, the chestnuts.
Chestnuts, yeah, I mean.
Okay. So as the research and demonstration forest, we have a small research program, and most of what I do is it's applied research. So someone has researched doing a certain type of silviculture in another state, and we try it out here at Fox. So
Okay.
we can have research plots to see if it encourages growth. Or my big research focus has been based on trying to manage in the face of invasive plant
Okay.
species. So
Okay.
I've done work down in Peterborough at our Casala State Forest, and have
Okay.
plots there, and in some other
So still lots more to
areas.
learn.
Tons more to learn.
So
but
if you're thinking about going to the field, this is a good time to get there.
Yep.
And lots more to do to follow in Inge's footsteps. You've been an awesome contributor to things that made New Hampshire better here, Inge. Thank you very much. Hey, throw out a handshake, which I try to do. Thank you very much, Inge. This is wildlife biologist Eric Orr for What's Wild in New Hampshire.